At long last, everybody, the interview with Elon Musk and Donald Trump has been released on Fox News. But can we all just take a moment to just appreciate how strange this interview actually is? We have a president of the United States sitting side by side talking about the implementation of policy, executive orders, and how the government is going to function with Donald Trump's largest donor. Does nobody else find this strange? Because if this was George Soros and Joe Biden sitting side by, people would lose their mind, and rightfully so. There should not be this entanglement between the wealthiest man in the world and Donald Trump. Not at this level. Elon Musk has already donated over $250 million to help get Donald Trump elected. And now it seems like he is the one who is actually doing all of the dirty work, while Donald Trump just lays low and pops up every now and again to sign some executive orders. So let's go ahead and take a look at this interview. I want to take a look at multiple different clips, and it kind of gives you an understanding that these people do not know how these agencies work or the government. They don't know how it's supposed to function, or, they don't have any of the values that we may have learned about as far as the United States go. And then it also kind of shows us what a grandiose vision they have of themselves. They're saving the world. They're saving the republic. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first clip. Elon Musk is talking about executive orders and how they do not get implemented. Do you think he has a pretty good understanding of executive orders? Let's go ahead and take a look. And if you do appreciate the work I do, please do remember to subscribe.
And that's why I like my t-shirt says tech support, because I'm here to provide the president with technology support. And now that may seem like, well, is that a silly thing? But actually it's a very important thing, because the president will make these executive orders, which are very sensible and good for the country, but then they don't get implemented, So if you take, for example, all the funding for the migrant hotels, the president issued an executive order, hey, we need to stop taking taxpayer money and paying for luxury hotels for illegal immigrants. Which makes no sense. Like, obviously, people do not want their tax dollars going to fund high-end hotels for illegals, and yet they were still doing that, even as late as last week. And so, we went in there and we're like, this is in violation of the presidential executive order. It needs to stop. So what we're doing here is one of the biggest functions of the DOGE team is just making sure that the presidential executive orders are actually carried out. And this is, I just want to point out, this is a very important thing, because the president is the elected representative of the people. So he's representing the will of the people. And if the bureaucracy is fighting the will of the people and preventing the president from implementing what the people want, then what we live in is a bureaucracy and not a democracy.
How can he say that with a straight face? He is the unelected billionaire that everybody hates right now. How can he say that? This is what I'm talking about. These people think that they're saving the world, that they're restoring our republic to a democracy, and if the will of the people isn't carried out, then we're in a bureaucracy, not a democracy. And he was pretty proud of that phrase, let me tell you, because he mentioned it multiple times throughout this thing. But also, just think about what he said there. The executive orders are not being carried out like they are supposed to be. And then he brings up the example of money being spent on illegals and luxury hotels. First of all, he is lying to you. This is money that has been allocated for asylum seekers. These aren't illegal aliens, as they would claim. This is congressionally approved funding that is supposed to be spent on these asylum programs. And for Elon Musk to think that Donald Trump can just sign an executive order to do away with all that shows a severe lack of understanding of what executive orders are and what type of weight they hold up against something like a law that was passed by Congress. And then when Donald Trump is also talking about the executive order, it's pretty clear that he doesn't know much about the EOs either.
And when he talks about the executive orders, and this is probably true for all presidents, you write an executive order and you think it's done. You send it out. It doesn't get done. It doesn't get implemented. They don't implement it. Maybe they're from the last administration, and they are in some cases. You try and get them out as fast as you can. But as soon as he said that, I said, that's interesting. You write a beautiful executive, and you sign it, and you assume it's going to be done, but it's not. What he does is he takes it, and with his 100 geniuses, he's got some very brilliant young people working for him that dress much worse than him, actually.
Yeah,
they dress in just T-shirts. You wouldn't know they have 180 IQ.
Wait a minute. So he's your tech support.
No, he is.
I actually
but
literally
he's
am
much
tech
more
support.
than that.
I actually am tech support, though. But
He gets it done. He's a leader.
Yeah.
He really is. He gets it done. You get a lot of tech people, and you have people that are good with tech, but he gets it done. You know, I said in real estate, you had guys that would draw beautiful renderings of a building, and they'd draw the rendering, it would be great, and you say, great.
And then he just rambles and rambles and rambles and rambles. Donald Trump wants to be a king. He thinks that executive orders are the edicts of, and those should be followed above everything else, even though if there was congressionally appropriated funds that are spent on different programs or different agencies that were stood up by actual laws passed by the elected Congress, well, then Donald Trump should be allowed to overwrite all of those. These people just do not know how our government works. We have a Congress that are elected representatives of the people. And they come together and they pass laws. And they allocate funding to different agencies and to different programs. And then the executive is tasked with carrying those things out. He does not have the ability, or shouldn't have the power to just stop funding or stop agencies or break down different things that have been signed into law by our Congress. We have a separation of powers for a reason. We do not want the president to be able to wield all of this power and to be able to do whatever he wants, like Donald Trump is suggesting here. Our government was constructed in the way that it is for a reason, because we understood that these populist tyrants would always come to fruition, and there needed to be checks on power. That's why we have 3 separate branches, and each branch has their role, but also their check on the other 2 branches. Donald Trump and Elon Musk clearly have no idea how this stuff is supposed to work. They're then talking about invoices, and everybody just expects to be negotiated on their invoices.
But we were talking about this yesterday. I could give me thousands of bills. I could pick any one of them.
Yes, exactly.
But I could take all 1,000. And let's say it's a bill for $5,000, just $5,000, and it's done by some bureaucrat. And if he would say, I'll give you 3, I don't want to pay you 5, it's too high, I'll give you 3. But they don't do that. If a guy sends in a bill for $5,000, they pay $5,000. They expect to be cut. Everybody expects to be cut. When you send in a bill, you expect to be cut. They send in the bill higher for the most part. This is true with lawyers, legal fees. When they send in legal fees, I can cut. I wish I had the time. I would save so, but I could cut these bills in half, much better than half. But you offer people a much lower number because they actually put fat. I'm not even saying it's like a way of business. They put more on because they expect to be negotiated. When you send in a bill to the government, there's nobody to negotiate.
Yes.
You send in a bill for $10,000 and they send you a check back for $10,000. If you would call them and said, we'll give you 5. No, I need more than 5. We'll give you 5. I'm not going to pay any more than 5. Make it 6. No, I'm not going to make it 6. And you'll settle for $5,500. You've just cut the bill almost in half, and it took like 2 minutes.
This really shows the true nature of Donald Trump and what an absolute con man he is at his core. When the government enters into negotiations about any different contract, there's going to be a bidding process, there's going to be estimates, and you're going to agree on a price before you fulfill that contract. Military contracts is one. You have a whole bunch of companies bidding up for the same contract, and then the government can pick which one they want, and then you have a set price before you even spend the money. Donald Trump thinks that you can just screw people over on the back end. And does he think that bureaucrats are just coming to the government and throwing them bills for thousands of dollars? I mean, how does he think this stuff works? It just shows a fundamental lack of understanding of these different dealings, but also Donald Trump is a con man to the core. Even if you are an individual and you are engaging in different negotiations or contracts, or you get a bill from somebody, You most likely had an estimate beforehand, and you know what to expect when the bill comes. To say that you're just going to try to cut it in half after the services have already been rendered is absolutely insane. Nobody operates like this, except con men like Donald Trump. They then go on to talk about USAID and how all of this spending is just outrageous.
I want people at home to understand this part. Average American makes $66,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay? We have $37 trillion in national debt.
Yes.
Now, all the money I'm about to mention and what we're going to scroll on our screen, and all of this is going to foreign countries. It is not being spent here in America for better schools, law and order.
I think the average tax-paying American should be mad as hell because their tax money is being poorly spent.
I don't even know what to say to these people. Are they really just that dumb? Are they that dumb? This money has been appropriated by Congress. So it needs to go to those programs. USAID and these different contracts that they engage with have been approved by Congress. And to think that just because you can't see the benefits that we gain from these different dealings that USAID does or these different programs that they do is foolish. We build goodwill all around the world. We help people who are less fortunate than us, so they are less likely to turn into anti-American terrorists later down the line. There's just a whole bunch of benefits we gather, and I've been over this time and time again, but these people just don't seem to get it. Just because money isn't being spent in the country doesn't mean that it's not benefiting the American people. I feel like I've kicked this dead horse for long enough because I've done multiple videos on this, so if you want more of a deep dive, you can go check out a few of those other videos. But then they turn to, well, Elon Musk is talking about how the country deficit is like an individual. This seems rational, right?
If you had to put a number on it, how much do you think you've identified waste, fraud, abuse, corruption at this point? And again, we're going to be scrolling this throughout the program.
Well, the overall goal is to try to get $1 trillion out of the deficit. And if the deficit is not brought under control, America will go bankrupt. This is a very important thing for people to understand. A country is no different from an individual in that if an individual overspends, an individual can go bankrupt, and so can a country. And the massive waste, fraud, and abuse that has been going on, which is leading to a $2 trillion a year deficit. That's what the president was handed on Jan 20th, a $2 trillion deficit. It's insane.
For this fiscal year.
Yeah, we inherited.
Yeah.
And inflation is back. I'm only here for 2.5 weeks.
A country is not run like an individual's personal account. That's just not how it works. For one, we are a sovereign territory that prints our own money. Can deficits be bad? Of course they can. But these people are not serious about tackling the deficits, especially when they come out with their budget proposals that would add $4 to $8 trillion to the deficit. And to think that you are going to go around and find trillions upon trillions of dollars to wipe out this deficit, it just doesn't make any sense. We are a sovereign territory. We have to look at our inlays versus what we are spending. If we are spending too much, that means we either need to cut spending or we need to increase our tax receipts. How does Elon Musk make this comparison? I thought he was supposed to be brilliant. To think that an individual's bank account is like a country is just stupidity. One more clip here I got to show you. He's trying to say that they're going to find trillions in fraud.
How much do you believe, Elon, you've identified in waste, fraud, abuse, corruption now? And how much do you anticipate you will?
Sure. I think
1%. No, because it's so massive. This is huge money.
So what we found now is 1%.
We're just got
as good as they are, they're not going to find some contract that was crooked, crooked as hell. I mean, there's going to be so much that isn't found. But what is found, I think he's going to find $1 trillion.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think it's a very small percentage compared to what it is.
$1 trillion, huh? They think they're going to find $1 trillion in waste, fraud, and abuse. That would be nearly 20% of our budget. These people are insane. They don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know how these systems work. They don't know how the money is spent or how it's spent or why it's spent. I just feel like we are dealing with a whole bunch of incompetent idiots that are just robbing the United States to line their own pockets. They are not talking about these problems seriously. They're not talking seriously about wiping out the deficit. It's all just a bunch of horse shit. They are lying to the American people, and it is clear from this interview that neither of them know how the government works, know how simple contracts work, how invoices, how paying a bill works. It's all just incompetence. And it's a damn shame that these are the people who are destroying our government from the inside out, partly due to this incompetence. So I'll leave it there for now. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We have to build something here on the left that can adequately push back against this right-wing media ecosystem that just allows Donald Trump to go unchecked always. So if you do appreciate the work I do, please do remember to subscribe. If you want to see how MAGA lunatics are arguing that Donald Trump should be allowed to be a king, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.